It's a very good evening to you who is watching us here on Church of Uganda Family TV. We are glad that you came through. Today is Thursday, and we welcome you to our Thursday edition of the Family Hour, where, of course, we talk about issues to do with leadership and governance. Now, today we are looking at institutional transformation and how you can create a successful organizational transformation. But of course, we know that when you're hired in a company or in that organization, one of the things they expect from you is to cause a transformation, at least to cause a change. Of course, we've had people say that if you go in a place and you realize you can't change anything, at least change the door. And at least that will be also a transformation by union. But there's a lot that you can do when it comes to institutional transformation. And today we want to look at the strategies for successful institutional transformation. And I believe by the end of this show, you will have gotten a thing or two or more than that to help you out in your journey of leadership. Ernest is my name. And with us is a gentleman who has been here before, but not on our Thursday edition. Of course, we've had him in the Friday edition, but now we have him even on Thursday. We want to tap into his experience and expertise here in our Thursday edition. He is Dr. Katwesigye Ernest from the Inspectorate of Government. It's a pleasure having you, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We are glad that you came through. And then we have Dana at the extreme end. I don't know why you love that corner so much.
Everybody has their corner.
Okay.
You also have your corner. Do you want us to switch? Good evening, viewers. It's so good to be here. Good evening, Adrian. You celebrated your birthday without me. I'm still waiting for the party and the invitation.
Okay.
But
That's
otherwise... And you have not told us how old you are. The last time we asked Dr. Patricia, now it's your turn to tell us how old you are.
When you tell us when your birthday is, I'll tell you that. And Dr. Patricia didn't tell us the age she was celebrating, so probably I've learned from you, from the two of you.
She did tell me.
She told you,
yes.
But she didn't tell us. So I've learned from you that age is always a secret.
Age is a secret to only women and not for men.
Okay.
Men are supposed to reveal their ages very proudly.
When we go for the break, I'll tell you how old I am now. Well, it's a pleasure having the two of you here, and we are talking about strategies for successful organizational transformation. But Dr. Ernest, if I can start with you to kickstart this conversation, can you take us through some of the key drivers of organizational transformation?
Thank you very much. Transformation. We probably can start by trying to understand what is transformation.
Yes.
You know, there is change, and there is change that is permanent. You know, now that is what we call transformation. Transformation for a pen would be not just removing the shell and putting another, but probably mixing the ink and it's now writing gray instead of yellow. No, so transformation is that kind of change that is permanent and definitely that is positive. So when we talk about organizations and transformation, again, another question that comes to mind is why transform? Why should an organization transform? Okay. The focus for any organization is the purpose for which it was put in place. Okay. So any transformation that is meaningful should be leading towards getting that organization, that entity to fulfill the purpose for which it was backed, for which it was put in place. If it's a company, is it profit that is the reason that it was set up? So what is a driver for transformation? Again, it's the extent to which purpose is appreciated. That is a key driver that I can talk about. If you do not understand your purpose, then abuse will be inevitable. It's like you imagine a phone, a person buys an iPhone and they think it's a camera because it can take pictures. And for a whole year they just use it to take pictures, you know? So purpose is a key driver, understanding what is the purpose of this entity, you know? And the tone of any organization is set at the top. The leader, you as the leader, you are the vision bearer, which means you must fully appreciate your purpose, the purpose for the entity, then the purpose for your role, and then where do you want to drive this organization. The moment that is clear to you in your mind with no doubt, then you must translate that to the people that you lead. The challenge we have with many organizations is what we call noise. You know, noise is good, but noise blurs. You know, you come to office, you have to check in, you have this letter to reply, this email to reply, this talk show to go to. At the end of the day, a lot of work, zero result. But when purpose comes into perspective, then as the leader, you have to say, this is our one purpose. For example, I come from the Inspectorate of Government. Our purpose is to fight corruption. The moment the leader keeps that at the forefront, then it becomes easier to move people towards that, because every day you're reminding yourself, you're reminding others, guys, this is what we are pushing for. This is where we are heading to. So when you get everyone to appreciate that and you move towards that, then you will definitely have transformation happening for the people. Because it is strange, it's interesting, most of the people that work in an entity actually do not understand the main purpose. How? For example, many of us, if not all of us, you've gone to an entity and right at the receptionist turns you off. Like, what do you want? You know? And this is a reception of a business entity. She has not appreciated the purpose. She just knows, for me, my purpose is to write people, register here, name, national ID. Without ID, you're not entering here. Hey, is that the purpose of the entity, to collect national IDs? You know? There's a bank that I dealt with, and which I will not mention the name. And we were opening a new account. And one of the signatories did not have their national ID. They had misplaced their national ID, but they had their passport, which captures the NIN. They had all the documents that were talking about them, and this person who called themselves the relationship manager said, no ID, no account. What's the purpose of the ID? Identification. I've identified myself. So what is your problem? You know? So clearly understanding the purpose, clearly setting what is that one goal. Yes, there will be so many other goals, Simania 10 points, what? But what is that one thing, you know, that we are there for, and helping everyone understand it, from the cleaner to the askari. I've gone to other entities who are even there. You reach there and the askari is the one who will actually attend to you. Because they have appreciated that actually our purpose, this is our purpose. And my purpose as the askari is not just to chase away thieves, but to help this entity achieve its purpose. I remember, like I said, the tone is set from the top. If we don't see the leader living out purpose, do not expect us to. If you want the entity to have time management, as long as the leader comes at any time, do not expect the followers to do the opposite, you know. So set the tone to pursue purpose and they will follow you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Then, talking about transformation, Doctor has elaborated more on purpose, but we also look at a situation where a leader might fail to recognize the need for transformation in an organization. At what point can a leader identify that now it's time to cause a transformation in the system?
That's an interesting question because you're putting the burden on the leadership to actually recognize the need for transformation. So change is inevitable. Transformation is a choice that you make about the change that's happening in any system. And a leader will go through periods and seasons of change. Inevitably, it will happen. As each of us changes, we grow. Things grow in our bodies that we don't expect. And as you grow up, things change. So change in itself is inevitable. And so every leader will go through it. But transformation is the ability to recognize that change is happening and how can you redirect that change and drive it towards the goal that you intended to be. So for a leader to recognize, you're saying a leader to recognize their particular transformation. It depends on the type of approach you use. You know, in workplaces, there's the top-down approach, there's the bottom-up approach, and then there's a combined both top and bottom-down approach. Now, all those different facets will tell you, will show how a leader responds to transformation. A leader who uses the bottom-up approach, that means that people generally drive it from the bottom. They drive decision-making from the bottom. They collaborate it to bring it to the top. Such a leader may not see that there's need for transformation. So what do you do then? Is that for transformation to happen, you need to be inspired. And it will take inspiration from people from the bottom to start the idea of change. And what do you do when a leader doesn't recognize that? Now with the bottom-up approach, the people who are at the bottom need to start to inspire others. What they do is get people with a collective mind and who have a group who think alike. What do we want to change about this place? Perhaps it's policies and the way policies are done. Maybe it's the way management is run. Perhaps it's the way leadership is done. So you begin to inspire the change at that level and drive it in such a way that the people who are interested in seeing that transformation create projects here and there and take the thing to the leader at the top. Now, inspiration is important because the leader needs buy-in at that point in time. You need to explain to the leader why they should buy into that policies should change. Why should they buy into that management should change? Things such as people rotate the CEO. The CEO remains per contract, but maybe functionally, we rotate the CEO. I've seen some organizations do that. I don't know how effective it is, but it works perhaps for philanthropy organizations. I'm not sure it will work for a government institution. No one's going to deal. But I saw it once. It once happened. I think there was a campaign where NSSF did it, and all the major people, Gerard Insari that time was acting as a guard at what's that mall? The mall on those different things. And people were exchanging to have a feel of different spaces. And so that kind of thing only happens when you inspire the leadership to change. And what you do in such instances is show them that there is something different. The example of where people acted, you were the deputy MD of an institution, you went down to be a guard in another institution. Now, that was to get a mindset of how does the person at the bottom feel? What does it look like to welcome people, to check people as they enter into an institution? Now, that was shifting a perspective on how leadership is done. When a leader gets up and they begin to serve in a place, usher, maybe collect plates here and there is something about that leader's perspective that changes. And so when the people at the bottom begin to inspire that kind of change and asking the leaders to participate in it, it opens the eyes of the leaders to see beyond what they are seeing at that particular moment. For the top-down approach, now the leaders may not see it, as you have said, the leaders may not see it, But not every leader sees things the same way. The beauty about leadership is it's in tiers. There is top management, there's middle management. So just because top management doesn't see it doesn't mean that middle management won't see it. How they approach it will be critical for transformation to succeed. And so in such a scenario, what you do is the middle management begins to create projects and things so that they can try it out. Now, nobody likes change. No matter how much we say it, nobody likes change. And so what you do with such transformation is take change in small bits and chewable bits. See, throw something out and see if it works. Throw something out and see if there is something, if there's something that changes. You can shift positions here and there. If you don't like it, you learn from it. Don't throw everything out with the bathwater. What didn't work? What worked? What can we change? And what can we learn from here to affect the way business is being done? Because the very need for transformation means that you've hit a gap. You've hit a place where a plateau where you can't go beyond. And so in times such as that, you need people who will challenge the status quo. You need people who are bold enough to bang the tables. You need people who are bold enough to challenge the status quo. It's now become a tagline. I laughed when I saw somebody write the other day how someone forgot to stand up in court as they were doing the introduction, and the judge, His Lordship Justice Chiari, made a joke and said, "Is this now the radical new bar?" But I thought it was very interesting. And that's the nature of us Ugandans. We make light of even very difficult situations. But things such as that is that you need to challenge the status quo. What about your institution is not moving? So whether you're challenging it at the leadership level or you're challenging it from the bottom up, that is going to affect everyone. So you're going to inspire or provoke the leader to think beyond what they are thinking. And when it comes to the participatory approach, the problem with the participatory approach, which is also nice, is that it requires buy-in from all sides, but it also gives both sides an opportunity to go out and do what you call a benchmark. In Uganda, we're good at benchmarking. So you go out and do a benchmark with other institutions, other places that are similar to yours. And in that, when you show people that this competitor is doing it in such a way that it's bringing them profit, but we want to be like them. What is it about them that we admire, that we would like to emulate? Now, you take time off. Close the office for a couple of days. Some people for 2 days. Some people like to retreat, to go back and rethink. Go to the places and check what they're doing, and then come and see if you can buy in. And I think that for a leader, opening their eyes and opening their perspective in seeing what competitors are doing will inspire you to the transformation that you need.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dana. Doctor, we know that institutions have cultures that have been built over time. Now, how can, especially leaders, balance, one, the need for transformation without interfering the operational cultures that are in place, especially those that on which the institution's foundations are built?
Okay, thank you. First of all, we are assuming that institutional culture is a holy grail, is good. Not necessarily. Sometimes culture is just that practice that has somehow developed, but is not necessarily the best. But let's take the ideal that it's a good culture here. People know each other. For example, some especially here in Africa, our culture, even at office, is a little casual. I know your friends. I know your home. Actually, we deceive ourselves many times that in our workspaces that we know each other. And a friend had a rude shock. They had worked together with this colleague for over 10 years. They thought they knew each other. She guaranteed her a loan. And guess what? Shortly after taking the loan, the friend resigns. She went to the place where she was staying. Landlord is like, she moved last week. and poor lady was taken into civil prison because it was a big loan. She didn't have the money, and eventually she had to look for ways of repaying the loan. So what am I saying? Culture, organizational culture, is not necessarily good. Okay, and so at any point there is need for introspection. Okay, there is need for you to collectively think through your culture. We do this, is it good, is it bad? And then build the culture based on shared values. Okay? Why you do this, why do you do it? What is the value behind it? Often organizations have a list and say core values, integrity, non-discrimination. But if you are to put aside one person and close the page and ask what were they again, they'll be like, okay, you see, even the other day. Okay, so for culture to be positive, it should be built on shared values that have been intentionally built, intentionally put together. I liked what Diana mentioned about the bottom person, not getting a consultant to sit in the boardroom with the board and management and come up and say these are our core values. You who? Okay. So it is important that everyone is involved in the building of institutional values, and there will be shared values. We call that dispersed decision making. A decision should be made by the person most affected by it. If you're deciding in an institution, for example, we're going to close this door and open this one. Involve the people who will be most affected. And in an entity who is most affected by the daily decisions, it's the people in operations. It's not the board. The board probably has some boards members have not even visited the institutions on whose boards they sit, which is not a problem, by the way. But the problem comes that they get into making operational decisions that they have no idea how they will affect them. So once you've had values agreed on through a dispersed process where everyone is involved, where it is clear when you say integrity, you all understand what integrity means. Because today integrity means something different to different people. To some people, giving a policeman money to let them go is not a problem, I told someone it was wrong, and they quoted for me the verse that no, there's this verse, agree with your adversary before you get to court. Okay, so agree. What do we mean by this? So this now, once you have those shared values, they will translate. Keep checking your culture. Is a culture agreeing to this or not? Is a culture agreeing to this or not? So once you have built it, once an organization has a strong culture that is based on clear values, then as a leader leads transformation, they should keep checking. How is this affecting our culture? How do we balance? Is it still in line with our core agreed values? Is it in line with our core purpose? There are very many good different options, but is it the best in line with culture that is based on shared values? If you do that, keep checking, then you'll be good to go. But if you just sporadically come dream about a new idea, come implement it, as you're still implementing it, another new idea comes in. There is this about shared values and cultures. There is this story about this organization that was trying to make the life of these women better. So they came, they looked at the community, and they felt that the women were suffering. They were getting water from a long distance. They were suffering, and they felt sorry for them. So they sank wells for them near the homes. And they were shocked that the women would still leave the wells and go for the far away ones. And when they asked them, they said, no, you see, going to the well helps us in many ways. That's a time we have to get away from our bad husbands. That's a time we get to talk to each other and give each other therapy. That's a time we get to catch up. Okay? So that transformation of water near did not take into considerations the value of womanhood that these women had. Okay? So any transformation should always, the drivers should always ask themselves, how does this impact the shared values? If it negatively impacts them, find another way of doing it.
Wow. Thank you so much, Doctor. We are taking a short commercial break. When we return, we are going to start from there. Kindly stay.